So hi, good afternoon. So as you can see that last class we just started the Bengal episode. So just revise a little bit that what all things we have studied on the very first day. So we mentioned about that Bengal was the richest Mughal province, okay? And its foundation happened in 1717 by Murshid Quli Khan. And the reasons of creation of this new state were basically he was contesting the royal farman, whereby Farrukhsiyar has not only permitted the Britishers to create further fortify Calcutta and mint their own coins, but there was one more provision which we haven't written, basically that he also gave 38 villages on rent to the British in this area. So that was also one bone of contention, that because of which he was not happy, okay? And then he created this separate state of the Bengal. So now Bengal has been founded and it further progressed. It further progressed in a better way at that point of time. So just Sugam, I need it in laptop, not in the front. So I'm just closing it because it's little heavy on my eyes. So what we talked about? So we talked about that it progressed. The very first thing we talked about that was the efficient revenue administration of the Bengal under Murshid Quli Khan, whereby he favored the development of the powerful zamindars instead of the smaller zamindars. Then the second thing we talked about was the growing importance of the merchant bankers in the Bengal politics, and they were very important because they provided security at each and every level of the transaction, and moreover they were also supportive pillars of the Bengal Nawab. And then we further mentioned about that one family from the merchant banker, Jagat Seths, then their history. And then after we talked about this agricultural productivity. Okay? So agricultural production is high in Bengal, and the climate, the topography, these all favors the high production in Bengal. Then I think uske beyond oceanic trade. So that land route traffic was declining and oceanic trade was thriving, and Bengal, since it was the manufacturing hub, so it was flourishing. Now one more point we need to add in this one, that Bengal always enjoyed favorable balance of trade. So just listen, I know that your economics classes hasn't started. So what is favorable balance of trade? Please understand that favorable balance of trade is basically that it is the addition of the import and import, and what is left, that could be favorable or that could be negative balance of trade. So I hope at least you understand what is export. When the things from India sold to the other country, that is export, and what is import? When we are purchasing from the other countries. So now when both are taken into the consideration, and if exports are more, okay, if we are sending more, selling more and purchasing less, so this results into the favorable balance of trade. So now how this favorable balance of trade is happening in Bengal? So it's happening because of basically that Bengal was the manufacturing hub, and as we mentioned that did we talk about the cotton and these all things? We didn't mention actually. So Bengal was the manufacturing hub of India. There were many commodities which were actually grown in the Bengal itself. So for example, that indigo, the perfectly suited area is the Bengal, Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, and indigo is the was the only source of the blue dye at that point of time. Then jute cultivation. Bengal was the hub of the jute cultivation. Then what about the cotton? Do you know that Bengal had a good cotton production? Where? In which part? Bangladesh, exactly. So it is Bangladesh where huge that cotton production right from the very long time it was there. Even today, when we are looking at the world scenario, when we started thinking about that after these all episodes of the China, that how it became aggressive, that too in the middle of the pandemic towards India. So we think that we must not buy Chinese. There are n number of the stuffs which are there in our lives, which matters to us, are Chinese. But one such replacement we got, that whenever you enter into the store, so particularly in the apparel section, now you get in this country that majority of these commodities are made from Bangladesh, not from this cloths made from the Bangladesh or Vietnam or Cambodia. So these are the countries where cotton production is also high. So now anyways, so cotton production was very high in Bangladesh area right from the very long time. So it was also the textile hub, and apart from it, obviously when these agricultural commodities are also there, so these all promoted the manufacturing activity in India, and in fact the import demand of the Bengal was negligent, very less. On the other side, the manufactured goods from the Bengal is going to the world, that was exorbitant. Then so obviously there is a favorable balance of trade. Now the next question is that in this favorable balance of trade, basically, that what was the mode of buying and purchasing, how they were buying and purchasing. So what was used for selling and purchasing? Any idea? Coin or something else? Gold, as you mentioned, gold. So exactly, it is gold which was used for this activity. Okay? And basically we call it as a bullion. Okay? So the most liquid metals like gold, silver, okay, they come under the bullion. So bullion was the main medium of the that purchase and then also that selling the things. Then and moreover, see that 18th century India is not the century of the Swift. I hope you know Swift. Okay, that is the process of the transaction. So it's not the time of the Swift, but it's the time when every country has their own currency, but gold is the most accepted medium. For example, today the gold's place has been taken by dollar, okay, and Sri Lanka is in crisis because of dollar, okay, and it is the currency traders who can any day, who are sitting in the Switzerland and UK and then European nations, they can brought any country's economy down, okay. Countries who cannot, who don't have that much strength, their size is small, so then they can do that. And this is not the first time which has happened in the Sri Lanka. In 1990s, Malaysia was also the one such victim of this one. So they have done. So anyways, we are not going into the economics. Economics teacher will teach you. So now, yeah, so listen. So bullion was the medium of the exchange, and this way, okay, this way India accumulated a huge amount of bullion, not just in the Bengal but also in the ancient times. India has accumulated a hell lot of bullion. So how in the ancient times it has happened? In ancient times it was the Guptas who had very robust trade relations with the Roman people, okay? And in fact silk was one commodity which was very much popular among the Europeans. Then apart from the cotton, spices and these all stuff, so spices from South India, but cotton and then this particular silk from this area. So right from that time we had a huge amount of gold. Then, and as you know that in India there is no gold mine, okay? In theory there might be one, there is one in theory, that is KGF, okay? But only the filmmakers can extract gold from there, not the common public. Yeah, there is no gold. In reality there is no gold, and moreover it is one of the deepest mine. So if you go to extract the gold, gold will extract you, okay? So you will never come back. So that's theory and practical बहुत different है. So but despite these all things, we don't have any gold mines, functional gold mines. We are the largest reserve of the gold in the world. So that's because of this ancient trade, and moreover that India was rich from the beginning, okay? It has so many things to offer to the world. So now this gold is there. Another part which we need to mention is that this trade with the European companies, it was mutually beneficial to everyone at this point of time, all the stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders? Obviously first would be the Indian producer, जिसने production किया. Then after the Indian producers, the merchant bankers. From the merchant bankers, it is to the European companies and also to the Indian rulers. So just let's look at this scenario, that how it is beneficial to all of them. Then, so for example, that Indian producer, suppose that he has done the production of a particular commodity. From him, it will be sourced by the merchant banker. Then from merchant banker, it will go to the many people, but here we are taking the example of the European traders, and from European traders it will go to whom? Any idea? European market, okay? So it is going to European market. Suppose that Indian producer his production cost of a particular commodity, ठीक है, so his production cost of a particular commodity, suppose it is 2 rupees, ठीक है, 2 रुपए है production cost. Now when he is selling to the merchant banker, so then he is paying that he is purchasing it in 4 rupees, ठीक है, so there is 2 rupees benefit for the merchant banker, 2 rupees benefit for the Indian producer. Now merchant banker sells it to the European traders 8 rupees, and then when it goes to the European market it becomes 24 rupees. So I have actually translated that how much cost was involved over here. So 3 गुना हो जाता था price, but earlier before this system, earlier the price till there Arab traders, यहाँ पे पहले Arab traders जब थे, so price is 8 rupees, but from here when it is going to Europe, so 24 रुपए के बजाय 200 रुपए rate होता था. So now you can see that it is very highly beneficial for the European people also, that earlier for the same commodity they are paying 200 rupees and now they are getting into the 24 rupees. So it is mutually beneficial for everyone. Moreover, you can ask a question that where is the profit for the Indian ruler? Where he is getting the profit in this particular line? Taxes. Very good, exactly. So Indian ruler was getting the taxes at each and every level of transaction, and moreover, one more thing which was there, that the Indian rulers, whenever any European company is going to come to India and then they are going to that they demanding that they want to create a trading center in India, so they seek the permission of the Indian ruler, and for getting that permission they needed to make some peshkas or nazarana to the British authority, to the native ruler. So this peshkas and nazarana, it could be huge amount of wealth also, but it could be any other thing which is as per the likeness of the emperors. Okay, please mention. Number 5. So subheading you mention favorable. Bengal always had. Bengal. It's point number 5, I think. Okay. So Bengal always had favorable balance of trade. Bengal always had favorable balance of trade. ठीक है, full stop. Bengal was manufacturing hub. Bengal was manufacturing hub, and it exported large amount of goods. It exported large amount of goods. On the other hand, the import demand of Bengal was negligent. Import demand of Bengal was negligent. Full stop. Then you mention negligent. Moreover, this trade was mutually beneficial. This trade was mutually beneficial to all the stakeholders. To all the stakeholders, that is Indian producer, merchant bankers, Indian producer, merchant bankers, European traders, comma, and the people of Europe. Full stop. Then mention the native rulers got the benefit. The native rulers got the benefit from taxes. got the benefit from taxes. Moreover, Europeans needed to make some peshkas or nazarana. Peshkas, just 1 minute. Peshkas or nazarana to the native ruler. Nazarana to the native ruler for getting permission to trade. Peshkas or Nazarana for getting permission to trade. So this is what is all about, that the different aspects of the Bengal. Okay? So now we are done with the same, and let's move to the next part. So the political aspect of the Bengal. So now we'll start with the Ali Vardi Khan. Okay? So during the regime of the Ali Vardi Khan, that what is going to happen. So on one hand, you see that Bengal is one of the, and it is the richest area of India. But on the other hand, that when it came to their military, so they have not spent much on their military, and in fact they have not emphasized much on the improvement of the strength of their military. So what we wrote earlier in the decline of the Mughals, that there was no upgradation in the military technology. So that is not only true for the Mughals but also for the Bengal. Okay? Though they are rich but not doing much on the military angle. So now when Ali Vardi Khan has come to power, so he was an able administrator, but at the same point of time he was not a strong military commander. Okay? Because his military was not strong. So at this point of time everything is fine, but what is happening, that somewhere by 1750s Marathas started to invade Bengal and Bihar and Odisha. So these three areas. And invade, basically the Maratha strategy was the strategy of the raid. And you know raid, how it happens. Nobody gives you notice that today I'm coming to your home for raid. Okay? You flee from here. Okay? So it happens all of a sudden. So all of a sudden raid happens and then you are caught unaware. So Marathas looted hell lot of wealth of the Jagat Seths also, and then hell lot of the wealth of the people also. So now Ali Vardi Khan, he had two options, either to fight with the Marathas, which he was clueless then, or to agree with them, to give something to them. So what he did, that he made an agreement with the Marathas, whereby this agreement, Odisha was given to the Marathas, and he also assured that he would be giving 1.25 lakh annually to the Marathas. So this is what was agreed between the Maratha and Bengal ruler. So now it was all fine, and if you ask that who was the Maratha, so Peshwa Nana Sahib. So Peshwa Nana Sahib, or he was also known as Peshwa Balaji Bajirao. Anyways, his name we will write later in Maratha episode, not here. So now this has happened. So now everything is going fine from 1751 onwards, but in 1756 when Ali Vardi Khan died, so there was war of succession between his grandson and then his daughter. So grandson Sirajuddaulah and daughter Ghasiti Begum. So now when Ghasiti Begum episode has happened, so the people who were there in the court of the Bengal, they wanted that this is a patriarchal society, and they all want that if a woman comes to power, so everyone who is there in the court, they will, not everyone will say, that those who have vested interest, their interest would be furthered. So there was bitter factionalism in the court itself, and some people supported Ghasiti Begum, some Sirajuddaulah. And in this, the major question is on the Jagat Seth, who they are supporting. So everybody knew that from their heart they wanted to support to the Ghasiti Begum, because this is how they were thinking that they will get their way. So they were in their heart, they were supporting the Ghasiti Begum, but they were very clever people. They did not made it public, and moreover, when Sirajuddaulah became victorious, he came to power. So they decided that they will not do any such type of the comments or anything. But what they wanted, that anybody who comes to power, if Siraj has come to power, so he must pay attention to their demands, and whatever they are dictating, he must pay heed to. So now, On the other hand, Siraj was quite young, and then moreover, you know that young blood, very boiling, ठीक है, लगता है कि दुनिया बदल देंगे. So this is what happens, and that's good also. Somehow the change happens with this only, with this kind of that endeavor itself. So now Siraj was of the view that he will not bow down before the big diktats of the Jagat Seth or anybody else, okay? And he will take his own decision. Nobody will be interfering in his decision making. So the major bone of contention was on one decision. The decision was that one of the company, either British or French East India Company, they were demanding the monopoly of trade in the Bengal. I hope you understand what is monopoly of trade, meaning that only one company would be operating from Bengal. So this decision was to be taken, and Jagat Seth, they wanted that this monopoly of trade must be given to the British East India Company. One can ask a question that why they are favoring British East India Company, because it is with British East India Company with whom their trade is strong and very that consolidated, and moreover there is a two-way relationship between them, that whereby their benefits are percolating from that British buying goods from the Jagat Seth selling into the European market. So obviously they will favor the British. So now they are favoring the British, but Siraj took a decision at this point of time that he does not wants to give monopoly of trade to anyone, okay? French bhi nahi, okay? He does not want to give it to the French also, and not to the British. And moreover, he maintained that Bengal will remain an open economy, people will compete here. And his concept was good. That's how we operate in today's time also, that we are an open market, okay? In open market, whoever gives the better services, whoever gives the less price, okay? Whoever is better, so that person survives. Then, so this is what he mentioned at this point of time, but this is something which was not liked by the Jagat Seths, okay? And now you can ask, who is the Jagat Seth at this point of time? So Fateh Chand is dead, okay? Now there are two sons of the Fateh Chand, Mehtab and Swaroop, okay? And they were not like their forefathers. So Manik Chand was intelligent, okay? And there is always a check and balance. But these two sons of the Fateh Chand, they were very arrogant. They had arrogance of that money and power, okay? And they forgot that even their destiny can change by just a heck of minutes. Somebody comes and kills them. So they forget. Okay. So now, at this point of time, Jagat Seths are unhappy. Okay. They are unhappy. They want to teach a lesson to the Sirajud-Dowla. Okay. So how it all started? So basically, we need to talk about the events which are leading to the Battle of Palasi. Okay. I will mention, because in one go there would be so much of writing. So first you write this part, Alivardi Khan, and then we go to the events leading to the Battle of Palasi. So you mention Alivardi Khan as a title. Alivardi Khan. So mention, though he was an able administrator, though he was an able administrator, he was not a strong military commander. He was not a strong military commander. Then you mention, during his tenure, Marathas started to raid Bengal. And they looted many of the coatis of Jagat Seth. Then you write, as such, Alivardi Khan decided Alivardi Khan decided to make an agreement with Maratha in 1751. Full stop. As per agreement, he handed Odisha to Marathas, and also promised that annually Marathas would be paid 1.25 lakh rupees. 1.25 lakh rupees. Full stop. After his death, War of Succession started. Among his daughter Ghasiti Begum and grandson Sirajuddaulah. Just 1 minute. Oh, पूरा clean हो गया. So you mentioned once again I am writing. And then you keep on writing. I hope you know the spelling. So mention. Which led to. No, they are अलग. ठीक है, अभी लिखो ये जो लिखवा रहा हूँ. नहीं, आज अभी कुछ टाइम तक तो मैं होश में रहता हूँ. So mention सिराजुद्दौला. नहीं, it does not mean कि मैं बेहोश हो जाता हूँ रात में. No, over explanation will indicate something else. I will not explain. Chalo. So now, what you have mentioned? Which led to War of Succession. Already written. हाँ तो बेहोश ही आ गई है. सिराजुद्दौला, ठीक है. Which led to bitter factionalism in Bengal politics. Then next you write. Finally, it was Siraj who ascended the throne. ठीक है. Then you write. At this time, Jagat Seths wanted that Siraj must pay heed, HEED, must pay heed to their instructions. Full stop. They further wanted they further wanted that the British East India Company must be given monopoly of trade in Bengal. Monopoly of trade in Bengal. Full stop. French were also demanding monopoly of trade. Full stop. Then mention young Siraj did not wanted to bow under BOWW, to bow under the diktats, spelling I'm writing here. So bow under the diktats of Jagat Saids. Diktats of Jagat Saids, and wanted to take his decisions without any influence. Wanted to take his decisions without any influence. Then next you mention without any influence. He decided no one would be given monopoly of trade. No one would be given monopoly of trade. So now listen, that this is the very first part. Okay? So no one would be given monopoly of trade. Now Jagat Seths are not happy. They are just waiting for opportunity to teach a lesson to the Sirajuddaula. So now one more thing has happened, that the events which are leading to the Battle of Palasi. So when this Ghasiti Begum episode has happened, so the supporters of the Ghasiti Begum, basically we need to know. So there were many people in the Bengal court, like there was a person Krishna Das who supported her. He was also a merchant banker, and then Britishers also supported the claim of the Ghasiti Begum. Okay? So though they don't have any business, okay, in doing that kind of supporting the claim, but they have supported the claim of Ghasiti Begum. So now Siraj was also not happy with the British, okay, that they have supported the claim of the Ghasiti Begum. Then another thing what happened, that Krishna Das, who was a fugitive, I hope you understand what is fugitive, Bhagoda, okay, so who was a fugitive, when Siraj was running after his life, so it is the British who gave him the shelter in the Fort William. Okay? So he was given asylum in the Fort William, and that is also going against that what is the rule of the Bengal, and moreover Siraj was not happy with it. Then the unhappiness of Siraj was not limited to only this, but one more thing. When he ascended to the throne, so French made Peshkas and Nazrana, okay? But British did not made any Peshkas or Nazrana. Okay? So Britishers are also doing it deliberately. Okay? So they are also doing it deliberately, and moreover, whose support they have? Okay? Jagat Seths. Okay? So now, what happened after these all events? Britishers started mounting guns on the walls of the Fort William. Okay? So they started mounting guns on the walls of Fort William, and on the pretext, meaning that they gave a reason that they are expecting another round of Anglo-French rivalry that might happen over here also, okay, in Bengal also. So on the pretext of the French rivalry, they started mounting guns. So when Siraj learned that they are mounting guns on the wall, so he passed an instruction that immediately remove the guns from the wall. And deliberately Britishers did not remove the guns from the wall. Okay? So when they did not remove the guns from the wall, so Siraj decided to march to the Fort William. Okay? And he marched to the Fort William with some of his soldiers. And this led to one such incident in which 146 people were stuffed into one room, and then it led to the death of near about 120. So see, I hope you know that what it is called. Black hole tragedy. Okay? But the problem is that why I am not using it as a black hole tragedy word, because it is the storm which is given by someone who is British, and it is his description. It is not, it does not entirely captures the description of the entire environment. Then so there was a British person, his name was Japania Holwell. Then he is the one who wrote this particular black hole tragedy. So according to the British historian, it is a black hole tragedy, but we cannot say that according to the context and then looking at the entire environment, it is not just the way it has been portrayed by the Britishers that Siraj-ud-Dawla was a ghost. He was not. So just listen. So when Siraj entered to the Fort William, so these all important officers, British officers, they fled from the Fort William, okay? And some of them started going towards the Madras, where Robert Clive was stationed. Then so some of them started towards Madras to seek the support of Robert Clive, and then the people who were there in the fort, their numbers were 146. Then so now these all, Siraj instructed that that they must be put in the imprison. So there was a one small room, and the dimensions of the small room was 14 into 18 into 10. Okay? So 14 feet, okay, 18 feet and 10 feet height. Then so you can measure in this class also that how much would be 14 feet. Okay? This much only. Okay? वहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक, and then little bit more than that. So 146 people according to the that particular detail were stuffed into the room, and there was only one window in that particular room on one side. Okay? So only one window. So now what is mentioned, that they said that Holwell said that out of this 146 people, 121 died, and then rest of them survived, near about 25-26. But it is quite impossible to stuff 146 people in such a small room. So if you really look at the dimension of the room, so it's impossible. Okay? You can only stuff the people in 146 people in such a small room by folding them in a kind of a gunny bag and then throwing it. Okay? And that was not done. So at the very first place, this 146 detail is a little bit exaggerated. And then as per the accounts of the Indian historians, it says that only 67 people were stuffed into the room. Okay? The Bengali historians, they write, and there is one famous historian, Chandranath Basu, so he mentions that 67 were there. And according to his scheme, near about 40 people died. Okay? 40 to 43 people died, and 21 survived. So anyways, whatever be the case, then so this much people, they were there, and next morning when the gate was opened, so only this 21 people survived. So what was the reason of their death? So the reason of the death, which Holwell has also mentioned in the same way. Okay? So reason of the death, that it was June, and moreover, you know, that humid, that hot and humid climate of the Calcutta. Then so everybody was very much thirsty. Okay? They wanted water, and that was one window. So they were asking to the other people who were outside, the guards, that bring the water. So the guards brought the water. Okay? They brought the water in some sort of camel bags then, and they were pouring the water to the people. But actually people started to fight with each other to get the water. And in this, some of them killed each other. Some Britishers only. They killed each other, and some died because of the suffocation also. So anyways, it has happened. After this incident, within few days only, that the news has reached to Robert Clive, and Robert Clive came to the Bengal, to Calcutta, with a bigger navy. Okay? So with a bigger navy and bigger force. So now when Robert Clive has come to Bengal, Calcutta, so then Jagat Seths also started to take sides of the Robert Clive very openly. Okay? They said that it is your fault. Okay? That Siraj-ud-Dawla, it is your fault that because of this much innocent people have been killed. Then, so they started to blame it on the Siraj-ud-Dawla. And Siraj-ud-Dawla was portrayed, as British historians did, that they portrayed him as a villain. He was not a villain. Okay? And you don't need to consider him as a villain. Okay? Because just you read the British history, because of that he is a villain. Okay? And in war, people have killed their own brothers. What about this one? So this is he did not killed. He thought, who must have thought कि सुबह खोलेंगे तो इतने लोग मर जाएंगे. So that's unfortunate, and he realized that it was an unfortunate incident. He was repenting also. So then it resulted into Treaty of Alinagar. Okay, and Treaty of Alinagar. So as per Treaty of Alinagar, he restored the privileges of the British in Calcutta, and he also paid them compensation for the loss of the lives. Okay, but you know that for the person like Robert Clive, that who was so greedy, for him that it was not enough. Okay, so anything could be enough for the one's need, but not for the greed. And for Robert Clive, the sky was the limit of his greed. Then he created a web of intrigue, means that he created a conspiracy. He hatched a conspiracy, and this conspiracy what we call Battle of Plassey. We'll mention further. Right. So एक subheading लिखो, events leading to Plassey battle. Events leading to Plassey battle. So in this, I just want to see that what was the last line that you have written. Monopoly of trade was the last thing. Okay? So number one, you write, during the War of Succession, British supported claim of Ghasiti Begum. Number two, they provided refuge to a fugitive Krishna Das. Then next you mention number three, they did not made any पेशकश और नजराना to Siraj when he ascended the throne. Okay? Then next point you mention after any peshkas or nazrana, on the pretext of Anglo-French rivalry in Bengal, they mounted guns on the walls of Fort William. Done? Then next you write, no, उसी में लिखो, उसी में ऐड करो, Siraj instructed them to remove the guns. Then next you write, remove the guns. But British refused. full stop. Then you mention as such, Siraj decided to launch an offensive. Siraj decided to launch an offensive. Full stop. This offensive measure of Sirajuddaulah is referred as black hole tragedy, by British historian Holwell. I'm writing his name, just give me 1 minute. Holwell. Okay? Then you write, as per the details, 146 people were stuffed into one room, whose dimensions were 14 into 18 into 10. 14 into 18 into 10. Someone has calculated also, people are बहुत खोजी, ठीक है, discovered that how much space would be given to the one student or one such person, 1.7 square feet, ठीक है. So hats off to this calculation would be asked in the prelims examination, that how much space is left for the one person. So anyways, you're right. So dimensions were 14 into 18 into 10. Then you write, when the door was opened next morning, it is said that only 120 people only 26 people survived. Only 26 people survived. And rest died because of suffocation. ठीक है. Then further mention, वैसे suffocation is a reality. I too have faced when your numbers are large. ठीक है. So now listen. So after this particular part, so Treaty of Alinagar happened, and he restored the privileges of the British, and then also paid them compensation for their loss. Okay? So paid them compensation for their loss. But by this time, as we mentioned, that Robert Clive was the man of the greed, and then for him sky was the limit. Then so he created a web of intrigue, and as per the web of intrigue, what he did, that he hatched a conspiracy with these all people, Jagat Seth involved. But the most important person was the general of the military general of the Bengal army, Mir Zafar. Okay? So Mir Zafar. So just listen that this battle of Palasi, many other places it has been mentioned it was a small skirmish, but in reality the battle happened. Okay? Casualty, in terms of casualties, there was not much casualty, but casualties were on the side of the Sirajuddaulah. So now it all started that it is the British who were the aggressor. Okay? That they started marching towards the seat of the emperor, and then Palasi is the name of the place where this battle happened. So Robert Clive was an intelligent person. There is no doubt about it. Okay? And what he did, that he defected one person from the court, and that person Mir Zafar. So the Sirajuddaulah was not knowing that his own general has defected. So he divided his army into three parts. One, he himself was leading. One, he was his trusted colleague, his trusted general Mir Madan, and one was led by the this person Mir Zafar. And moreover, both the sides, they had the gunpowder. Okay? But Bengal in June, in the month of June, it is known for, you know, that it's month for so much of rain. Then, so on one side, Sirajuddaulah, he has also come with the gunpowder and everything. Okay? On the other side, Robert Clive also brought gunpowder, but he also brought tarpaulins. You know tarpaulins. Okay? So he also brought tarpaulins. And it is said that in the mid course of the battle, what happened, that brains happened, and all the gunpowder of the Sirajuddaulah, they were ruined because they were wet in that particular rain, and the tarpaulins were used to safeguard the gunpowder in the Robert Clive's army. And finally, when the battle started, so he did not give, that Mir Zafar did not give any instruction to 1/3 part of his army, and they did not move. Okay? So he defected, or in other words we can say he effected a coup, which means takhta palat. Okay? So he effected a coup, and he defected, he effected a coup, he did not supported Sirajuddaulah, and as such Mir Madan was fighting from the front. But later on what happened, that Siraj was captured, and after some point of time he was executed. Okay? So he was executed. So after the execution of the Sirajuddaulah, a new episode is going to start in the Bengal politics, whereby Mir Zafar was appointed as the next Nawab. Okay? And obviously with the support of the British, and he is coming to the power. But you know, when he is coming to the power, so already he is a traitor number one. Often he is quoted in the many such election rallies. Everybody quotes him, other party, as a Mir Zafar. Okay? In fact, there are that n number of the Mir Zafars in India. So he was appointed to the throne, but now he will see that how the British greed is rising. Okay? So before talking about him, that what happened during his regime, we need to write something related to the consequences of the Palasi battle. Okay? So I'll mention, but first you write. So what is the last thing you have mentioned? This black hole tragedy. Okay? So mention, change paragraph, and then you write, some British officers fled to Madras. Some British officers fled to Madras to seek help of Robert Clive. Full stop. On a later date, Robert Clive arrived with strong army. Robert Clive arrived with strong army. Okay? Moreover, by this time, Siraj repented the tragedy in Fort William. Full stop. As such, Treaty of Alinagar was signed. Which restored the privileges of British privileges of British and also paid them compensation for their loss. Full stop, change paragraph. For person like Robert Clive, it was not enough. For person like Robert Clive, it was not enough. And for him, sky was the limit. Full stop. He created a web of intrigue. In Bengal. Whereby many people from Siraj's court defected to the British side. Secretly. Okay? So now you can write Battle of Plassey as a title. Battle of Plassey, 1757. So mention you write it was not a full-fledged battle. Because Siraj's general Mir Zafar effected a coup. So how you write coup? C-O-U-P. Effected a coup, after which Siraj was captured and executed on a later date. Done. So now listen about the consequences of the Plassey battle. So when it comes to the consequences of the Plassey battle, so obviously in a single stroke it increased the prestige of the British in India. Okay? So obviously it is a world where the fights decides the prestige. Okay? If somebody is victorious, so his prestige is increasing. So in a single stroke the prestige of British is increasing. Then another thing, that after this Plassey battle, okay, it is said that it is the first such a step to the creation of the British Empire in India. Okay, Siege of Arcot is not called as the first step, though it was their first victory, but that Plassey battle, when you are defeating and killing the Indian ruler, that is much more important, and that to the ruler of the richest state of the Bengal. So it is the first step of the British consolidation in India, and it paved the way for their rise. So how it is going to pave the way? So after the Plassey battle, they have got huge amount of money. So for example, the 2,75,000 pound was given to the British immediately as war indemnity. What is a war indemnity? Damage price. Okay? So war damage price. That is one. Then in between 1757 to 1760, Mir Zafar gave 22.5 million rupees meaning 2.25 crore rupees to the British as a bribe. ठीक है? So as a additional money to them. So this much money he has given. Then another thing, that with this particular finances, they were able to raise a very strong army. ठीक है? Very strong army. And then British also got the zamindari of the one such area in Bengal which is known as 24 Pargana. ठीक है? So this is the one area in Bengal, 24 Pargana, and this they are getting. So these were the benefits to the British, and after this the Battle of Buxar will happen, later date mentioned. So consequences of the Palasi battle. Consequences of the Palasi battle. Mention. Number 1. Mentioned. It increased the British prestige in single stroke. It increased the British prestige in single stroke. Full stop. Number 2. It paved the way for the rise of British power in India. British power in India. Number 3. Soon after the war, they received 2,75,000 pound as war indemnity. 2,75,000 pound as war indemnity. Then next you write, उसी में लिखो, उसी स्टेटमेंट में you can mention, in between 1757 to 1760, Mir Zafar paid them 22.5 billion rupees. मिलियन लिखोगे तो करोड़ में भी लिख सकते हो, यू कैन, इट्स अप टू यू. मिलियन मैंने बोला, बिलियन नहीं भैया. उस टाइम पे बिलियन होगा तो फिर उसके बाद दिन मतलब यू आर कंसिडरिंग दैट बंगाल, ईच एंड एवरी हाउस ऑफ बंगाल इज मेड अप ऑफ गोल्ड. सोने की ईंट है सबके घर में. सो 22.5 million rupees. Then you write, this is popularly known as Plassey plunder. This is popularly known as Plassey plunder. Plassey plunder. Done. Then next point, a point change karo. Next point. Plassey plunder helped British. Plassey plunder helped British to create a very strong army. In India. Next one. They also received the zamindari right. They also received the zamindari right of 24 Pargana. 24 Pargana. 24 Pargana. I think I have written here 24 Pargana. So now listen, the last two rulers, Mir Qasim and then Mir Zafar. So first we need to talk about the Mir Qasim further. कुछ तो यहाँ पे हो गया, that what he has given to the British, and then what else? So now you can ask a question that why he is paying so much of money to the British, 22.5 million rupees. What is the purpose of this money? So basically it goes back to the 1730s only. What we talked about the Alivardi Khan, that he was a able ruler but not a strong military commander. And when Marathas are posing a threat, okay, so posing a threat to the Bengal area, so the only people who were kind of that big militarily good, technologically sound, was the British, French and Dutch. Okay. So now the Bengal rulers started to take the help of the British military, particularly 1757 onwards. So 1757 onwards, that Bengal ruler was dependent on the British army, and he was making the payment for this army. And moreover, that exorbitant rates were demanded by the Britishers. So what happened, that when he has given this much money to the British, he decided, okay, that now he needs to cut. Mir Zafar decided, the person who traded, who did the treachery. So now he decided that he will not online. Oh, itna jaldi. Chalo, okay. So what we can do, we can use this time for questions. ठीक है? उस पे माइक में हटा दूं? ठीक है? हाँ. So I hope now it's working. And please confirm in this response screen that if it is working. So everyone who is watching online, please confirm, and then accordingly I will move ahead. So whatever part that was lagging, by the time you must have seen, and then we are starting afresh right now. So the points which we have mentioned till this point of time was the consequences of the Palasi battle. So I was about to start Mir Qasim's episode, and in fact we were in the middle of that story only, that he was dependent on the British army for the military support, for which British demanded any such amount of money, exorbitant amount of money. So now what has happened? So he decided to placate the British from the Dutch. Mir Zafar. So Mir Zafar has decided to placate the British from the Dutch, meaning that he will not take any military support from the British, and he is searching his options with the Dutch, who are also present in the Bengal by this time very strongly. But what happened, that when this news has reached to the British, so what they did, that they thwarted the attempt of the Nawab, dethroned him, okay? They dethroned him, and moreover, after dethroning him, they fought one separate battle, okay? That just before dethroning, basically, they fought one battle with the Dutch, which we have already mentioned, Battle of Bedara, okay? In which they have thoroughly defeated Dutch. And 1760, Mir Qasim was appointed as the next Nawab. So you know that whenever a new person is going to come to power, when he is appointed to the throne, so obviously he will have to fulfill some of the demands of the British, okay? So when Mir Qasim has come to power, so he also gave the zamindari right of the some areas in Bengal. For example, Midnapur and Vardhaman, okay? So the zamindari rights of this area were given to them. Then after, another thing, that he also paid 29 lakh rupees to the British, okay? So 29 lakh rupees once again. Then Mir Qasim, very soon he realized that obviously that it is very much possible to fulfill somebody's need but not the greed, and moreover after some point of time it will become very difficult for him to pay the Britishers, because their demands are increasing day by day. So now, and not only the demand, but in the daily administration of the Bengal, there was so much of interference. So now he decided that first he will change his capital. He will shift his capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Okay? So Munger, he shifted his capital to Munger. Munger is in Bihar. So now once he has shifted, he felt that there would be a distance, because there is no British seat in the Munger, so there would be less interference. Then another thing he did, that since the British traders, they were enjoying the free trade. ठीक है? So what he did, that he abolished all the inland duties for the Indian merchants, so as the Indian merchants would be performing on equal footing like the Britishers. ठीक है? So now when he abolished the inland duties for the Indian merchants, this was contested by the British. ठीक है? And it led to small successive wars in which Mir Qasim was defeated, and after his defeat he fled to Awadh. ठीक है? So he fled to Awadh, where the Awadh ruler Sujaud-Dawla is there, and there he made alliance with the Sujaud-Dawla Mughal emperor, who was in Allahabad, very close to that place. So yes, so they made an alliance, and after this alliance the battle of Buxar is going to happen. Please write Mir Zafar as a heading. Mir Zafar. (1757 to 60). 1757 to 60. Mention. He came to power with the support of British. He came to power with the support of British. And Jagat Seths. And Jagat Seths. Then next you write Jagat Seths, full stop. Very soon he realized that it is not possible to fulfill all the demands of British. All the demands of British. He started to search his options. He started to search his options for military support. Search his options for military support. ठीक है? He persuaded Dutch. He persuaded Dutch. Mention. When British learnt this news, they thwarted. THWARTED. They thwarted the Nawab's attempt. And deposed him from the position. Deposed him from the position of Nawab. Moreover, Dutch were defeated. In Battle of Bedara. 1759. Battle of Bedara, 1759. Done? So now you write the next heading, Mir Qasim. Mention Mir Qasim. (60 to 63). He also came to power due to British support. as such, as such, he gave the zamindari right of, as such, he gave the zamindari right of Midnapur, Burdwan and Chittagong to British. Midnapur, Burdwan and Chittagong to British. Okay. He also paid 29 lakh rupees. He also paid 29 lakh rupees to the British. 29 lakh rupees to the British. Then next you write. What happened? You can have water. So now mention. He decided to shift his capital. He decided to shift his capital from Murshidabad to Munger. From Murshidabad to Munger. So as to limit the British interference. So as to limit the British interference in Bengal politics. In Bengal politics. Full stop. He also abolished all the inland duties. He also abolished all the inland duties to bring Indian merchants on equal footing. Indian merchants on equal footing with British. Equal footing with British. You know what was the repercussion of this one? Okay? So earlier in the Bengal society, there is only one merchant banker family which is dominating, that is the Jagat Seth. Obviously, they will contest at this point of time कि सबको privilege दे दोगे, inland duties you will remove. So you know what was the fate of the Jagat Seths? So this question you could have asked, I could have answered then. So this one I know. So the fate of the Jagat Seth, Swaroop and Mehtab Chand, okay? That these two sons of the Fateh Chand. Now, Mir Qasim was so angry that he decided that I don't know that what will happen to me. I may die, but before my death, I will kill them. Okay? He captured both of them and he assassinated them in a very brutal manner. He cut their bodies into 1,000 pieces and fed to the dogs. So this is what was the end of the anger, the politics which is there. But even they were not a good people, they were wrong persons, the last two, but their role was there in the Bengal trade. And they were actually at the epicenter of the Bengal trade. And that's how, that is the last about the Bengal, that Bengal trade collapsed after their death. And then after this episode, the fight between the British and Mir Qasim is happening. He is flooding to the Awadh. So just listen. So in Awadh, he formed an alliance with the Sujaudollah of Awadh and Shah Alam, the Mughal emperor. So now the preparations started, and then the army of this grand alliance, it was near about 70,000 soldiers were there in this grand alliance army. Okay? On the other hand, the British were represented by just 7,000 soldiers, which is 1/10 of the Grand Alliance army. It seems to be that that Babur episode is getting repeated. On one hand, Ibrahim Lodi more than 1 lakh and Akbar was only with the 10 to 12,000 soldiers. So now here also same situation, but British were under the command of a British officer, Munro. Okay? So Major Munro. And Robert Clive is not there in the 1764. Okay? It is Major Munro. So they were under the central command and technically they were efficient. Okay? And they were moreover that everybody was operating on the commands of a person. But when it comes to the other party, okay, the Grand Alliance Army, there were segmental divisions. And what is this segmental division? Basically, the people who belong to the Awadh army, they are only listening to their own commander. They are not listening to the Shah Alam, they are not listening to the Mir Qasim. Same is true about that Mir Qasim people, they are not listening to the other rulers or other commanders in the army. So there was no such great cooperation between them, and because there's no I think why is some problem? कुछ है क्या इसमें? Fine. So there was no great cooperation, and that's how, with 7,000 people only, the Major Munro defeated them thoroughly, and after that, Treaty of Allahabad was signed. So now just listen to the agreements in the Treaty of Allahabad. So very first one. Since out of these all rulers, the most important was Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Okay? Though we mentioned earlier that his rule extended just to 23 kilometers, but he has this legitimate authority. And see, the word which I'm using, legitimacy, is a big word. Then it's a big word. Though we have used it quickly, but it's a big word. That though he is not the ruler, that he is not directly ruling, but he is accepted as a ruler of India because his family has ruled for a long time. So now he has this legitimacy, and moreover, that when it came to the revenue, so he has this particular power. So he was treated with the respect. Okay? Mughal emperor was treated with the respect, and British mentioned that every year annually they will be giving him 26 lakh pension. Okay? So he became the British pensioner at this point of time. So from here onwards he'll be getting the 26 lakh per annum payment. And moreover, he did not, he was not tortured, he was not disrespected. And finally, okay, in the return of it, the British got Diwani rights of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha, which is the revenue collection rights of the Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. What about the Mir Qasim? So Mir Qasim life was spared. Okay? He was not, obviously in agreement, nobody kills nobody. Okay? So that's why the agreement happens. So he was spared, but nothing was left for the Bengal, and Bengal is under the dual administration of the British. We'll talk about it. So we'll talk about the dual administration later on. But first of all, what about the Awadh? So Awadh ruler, he has no such prior big rivalry with the British, but he has participated in it. So now he needed to pay 5 million rupees as a war indemnity. Okay? So 50 lakh rupees as war indemnity, and then after he became an alliance partner of the British. So from here onwards he is partner with the British, and moreover supporting many of the British policies. Then comes the episode of the Bengal where we mentioned the dual system of administration started in the Bengal. So it continued from 1765 to 1770 for just 5 years, and then after, from 1770, Bengal is completely ruled by the British. So after this 65 battle, once again Mir Zafar was appointed to the throne. Okay? The same person, okay? The same treacherous person, he was appointed to the throne, but now with a new condition. So condition is that obviously the revenue administration, which is Diwani right, revenue collection right, is there with the British. So the Bengal Nawab was left with only Nizamat function, okay? That is civil administration. So revenue administration is with the British and civil administration with the Bengal Nawab, and that they discontinued after 1770. So 1770, it is the complete rule of the British from in Bengal. Please mention, you're right. So I remember that equal footing with the British. So you're right. It led to successive wars. It led to successive wars between British and Mir Qasim. Between British and Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim, in which he was defeated. In which he was defeated. And he fled to Awadh. He fled to Awadh. So right, a heading you mentioned, Battle of Buxar. Mention Battle of Buxar. Battle of Buxar. So in this you write, Mir Qasim created a grand alliance. Mir Qasim created a grand alliance with Awadh ruler Sujaud-Dawla and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II. Mention. The Grand Army had the strength of 70,000 soldiers. But it had many segmentary divisions. Full stop. Then further you write many segmentary divisions. On the other hand, British Army was led by Major Munro. And it had only 7,000 soldiers. But they were technologically very advanced. Full stop. As such in the battle, Grand Alliance was thoroughly defeated. And then you can write a title, Treaty of Allahabad. So please mention 1765. So now, before we are talking about this, many a time people do ask that why that even British are victorious in this one, why there is a need to respect the Mughal emperor with the respect. British have a chance to remove him from the power and go to the seat of the Delhi, okay? And Awadh ruler also. So why they are not able to do that? People might, yes, obviously people might revolt, and that's the word which we use, legitimacy, okay? It's, see that winning a battle in one instance is very different than getting the approval of the people, okay? So that is one thing. But there are many reasons which we need to discuss. Just listen. So first one which we said, that people might revolt, people might not accept a foreigner as a ruler. It has happened in this country that it has taken hell lot of time to accept a foreigner as a ruler. Okay? So people will not accept it. Another thing, that Mughal emperor was treated with respect. It was a kind of a misnomer by the British, that they wanted to give a message to the people that, see, the British are good people, okay? That British are good people, that even after defeating the Mughal emperor, they are respecting him, okay? So if at the later stage, if they become our ruler, so they will be better than these all people. So first this message. Then another thing, that 1765, it's a private company, okay? It's a private company, and what is the most important motive of a private company? Profit maximization, okay? So profit maximization. So from this particular, when they are getting Diwani right, So they are going to get the revenue. Okay? They are going to get the hell lot of revenue. But when you become a ruler of an area, so you need to own the responsibility also. और responsibility बिना पैसे के तो होता नहीं है. ठीक है? You will have to spend money. ठीक है? Even if you are a torturous ruler, then also you need to build the road. ठीक है? You need to build the army. So they did not wanted to expend the money. ठीक है? So on one hand, when income is coming without spending it, so who the hell wants to the ruler? ठीक है? So it was highly beneficial to them. ठीक है? Being a private company, their profit was served to them. And moreover, these Britishers in the beginning, that at this point of time, they had this thought that we will stash hell lot of amount of money and then we will retire in our own country. Obviously, they are not in love with India. ठीक है? That wherever one is born, the one is comfortable in that country. So they had this intention that they will take all this money from India and they will retire to their own country, and there they will become Nawabs of London. Okay? With their money. So this is their intention. So that's why they did not approach to or they did not resorted to this activity by killing the Mughal emperor and then becoming the ruler. Okay? And moreover, over the period they got to know that they can become bigger than the private company and then they can rule in this country. So this is the development of the colonial mindset in the company at this point of time. You're getting it? Okay? Now we can mention. So you write number 1 provision. Mughal emperor Shah Alam was treated with respect. Was treated with respect. Was treated with respect, and he was assured British pension of 26 lakh rupees annually. British pension of 26 lakh rupees annually. Done. Number 2. In return, British were given Diwani right. In return, British were given Diwani right. In brackets you can mention revenue collection right. Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. Okay? Diwani right of Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. Then next you write Awadh became an alliance partner to British. And Sujaudollah paid 5 million rupees as war indemnity, or 5 million rupees as war indemnity. Then you write dual system of administration started in Bengal. Dual system of administration started in Bengal, whereby the revenue administration was in the hand of British. Revenue administration was in the hand of British, and the civil administration was the duty of puppet Bengal Nawab. Puppet Bengal Nawab. I have used this word. Puppet means the I hope you know Katputli, meaning that they are controlled by the British. Okay? So puppet Bengal Nawab. So this is what is the episode of the Bengal which has ended. Okay? So Bengal episode has ended. So next is that the Mysore. Okay? Should we start? Start करें? 5 minute break तो लिया था. Chalo, you can take break and then after we'll start with the Mysore. So now you can mention heading regional power of Mysore or modern state of Mysore you can mention. Modern state of Mysore. So we are calling it modern because they made some interventions in their rule. So now listen. So when it comes to Mysore, we need to go back to their old history little bit. So in medieval times, you study about the Vijayanagar period. Okay? And Vijayanagar period, it was founded in 1336 by two brothers, Harihar and Bukka Rai. And that was the time when Tughlaq ruler Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the ruler of the India. Okay? So that time only there was foundation of two kingdoms. One was the Vijayanagar, one is Bahmani. So Bahmani is the one which is in 1347. So it's Vijayanagar kingdom which was one very important kingdom in the Indian history. There were 4 dynasties which ruled in the Vijayanagar kingdom. You would later read in the medieval history. That is Sangam dynasty, then Suluva and Tuluva dynasty, and the last was Aravidu. Okay? So by the time of the Aravidu dynasty, decline of the Vijayanagar kingdom has started. Okay? The last dynasty. So decline of this kingdom has started, and in fact there was a very important battle in 1565. These all you don't need to write, just listen. You'll be writing in your medieval classes. So in 1565 there was very important battle which was Battle of Talikota, and in this Battle of Talikota the combined houses of the Bahmani, they defeated Vijayanagar. Okay? So they were arch rivals right from their inception. So they defeated Vijayanagar, and 1565 onwards the decline of the Vijayanagar started, which was final by the 17th century. Final by the 17th century. Moreover, within Vijayanagar there were many small principalities. One of this principality was the Mysore. Okay? So after the decline of the Vijayanagar, Mysore established its independence. Okay? And in the 18th century, Mysore was under the control of the Wadiyar dynasty. Okay? So Wadiyar dynasty, they were the rulers of the Mysore. Moreover, in other places of the country also, those people who were the officers in the Vijayanagar court, they went on to create their own kingdoms. For example, in medieval you read about the Nayak also. That Nayak became the rulers of the Madurai, Tanjore, these all areas. Our concern is Mysore, which is Wadiyar dynasty. So in 18th century, in the beginning of the 18th century, the ruler of the Mysore was Krishna Raja Wadiyar. Okay? So Krishna Raja Wadiyar, and by 1720s and 30s, there were 2 ministers of Krishna Raja Wadiyar. What they did, that they house arrested the king, okay? Or they kind of usurped the power from the king, and these 2 brothers and the ministers, Nanjaraj and Devaraj, they were ruling in the Mysore. Okay? So 1520s to 1560 you can say. So they are the one who are ruling. While they are the one who are ruling, so at this point of time, Hyder Ali, okay, who is considered as the founder of the modern state of Mysore. So he was a petty soldier in the Mysore army. Okay? Petty means that बहुत छोटा सा soldier, अदना सा, हिंदी में बोलते हो अदना सा soldier. Then, so moreover, he was a small level soldier. He started his career with this particular that employment of the soldier. He was uneducated. He was not a literate person. Okay? So he was uneducated, But that does not mean that he was not intelligent. Intelligence is a different thing and education is a different thing. He was highly intelligent and moreover he was visionary also. Okay? And he believed in some of the progressive thoughts. For example, that upgradation in the army. Okay? So in 1761, he also usurped the power from the two ministers, Nanjaraj and Devraj, and then he founded his own empire in Mysore. Okay? Please mention a little bit about Mysore. So you write, Mysore originally was a principality. Mysore originally was a principality under Vijayanagar kingdom. Principality under Vijayanagar kingdom. After the decline of Vijayanagar, Mysore became completely free and autonomous. Mysore became completely free and autonomous under Wadeyar dynasty. Under Wadeyar dynasty. Then mention in the early 18th century. Mysore was ruled by Krishna Raja Wadeyar. Krishna Raja Wadeyar. Later, two of his ministers, Nanjaraj and Devraj usurped. So I am writing the spelling, you can see here. Usurped the power from Krishna Raja. Usurped the power from Krishna Raja. Full stop. And started to rule Mysore. So now you write a subheading, just name of the Hyder Ali. Okay? So mention his name and then mention Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali was a petty soldier in the Mysore army. He was a petty soldier in the Mysore army. Though he was uneducated, but a man of vision. Not this one, actually. Okay? Man of vision. Then you write, and highly intelligent. Full stop. Fortune was also on his side. As such, he rose to the position of commander in Mysore army. In 1761, he removed Nanjaraj and Devraj from power. He removed Nanjaraj and Devraj from power and became the ruler of Mysore. So now here also in Mysore episode, once again we will adopt the same method like the Bengal. Okay? So in Bengal, what we did at the very first place, looking at the salient aspects of the Bengal. Here also we'll look at the salient features of the Mysore. So please mention. And moreover, these salient features under Hyder Ali, not under the Wadiyar dynasty. So salient features of Mysore. Salient features of Mysore. So listen. So when it comes to Mysore, so as we have mentioned at the very first place, modern state. So here modern is basically indicating towards their army, okay, and their openness to make a change in their operation, in their army. So what they are going to do. So first of all, Hyder Ali, he was very much aware that in the 18th century India, okay, you cannot operate in a very good way if you don't have a very strong army, okay? And strong army does not mean that you must have n number of the people, okay? It must be technologically efficient, okay? It must have good quality, sophisticated weapons. So what he did, with the help of the French, he created an arsenal at a place called Dindigal, okay? So arsenal, that is arms factory at the Dindigal. He also introduced Western methods of training in his army. And going by the Western methods of training, he has introduced a system of particularly in army, which is known as Risala system. So just understand what is this Risala system of Hyder Ali. So going by this Risala system of Hyder Ali, he divided his army into many units. Okay? So his army is getting divided into many units, n number of the units, and these all units are called as Risala. Okay? So these all units are Risala. So for example, we can say this is Risala 1, this is Risala 4. Okay? So many such Risalas. Then what else? So in each of the Risala, there was prefixed number of soldiers. Okay? So there is a fixed number of soldiers. What else? Horses, weapons. Okay? So soldiers, horses, weapons, whatever that is required. And if it has this particular, suppose that if it has 1,000 soldiers, so each of the Risala will have 1,000 soldiers. So it means that it is an equal division of the arms, soldiers, and then also the horses and the weapons. Okay? So each Risala will have the same number of the things. Moreover, each Risala will have a commander. Okay? So it will be under the leadership of a commander. And moreover, there is a direct chain of command which is starting from the ruler. Okay? So direct chain of command which is starting from the ruler goes to the commander, and same message goes to the soldier. Okay? So direct chain of command. And if at all anything which is happening at the soldier level, so they also had the powers to communicate it to directly to the ruler. So there is two-way flow of the information. Okay? So direct chain of command. And this is basically, he is inspired from the Western methods, that in the Western methods also this way the army was organized. So this Risala system proved to be effective for him. Mention. You write very first one. So first you write, with the help of French experts, he created an arsenal at Dindigul. An arsenal at Dindigul. Done. And one might be thinking that when he must have created. Okay? So it was created way back, not after he has become ruler, when he was the general of the Mysore army, the topmost position. Somewhere in 1755-57 this was created. Okay? So when he is not the ruler, then only. So while he is general, he has these ideas for the Mysore. Okay? Now the next one you write, mention after this one. Second one, he organized his army. He organized his army through the system of Risala. Through the system of Risala, whereby army was divided. Whereby army was divided into many units. Army was divided into many units known as Risala. Full stop. Known as Risala. Under each Risala, there was equal and fixed number of soldiers, weapons, horses, etc. Full stop. Each Risla had a commander. And it had the system of chain of command going to the ruler. Okay? So this is the second thing. Then now, obviously we need to talk about the revenue administration. Revenue is one of the very important part in any such monarchy. So how their revenue administration is going to be different from the others? So obviously the Mysore was unique in this sense that their revenue administration was something which is little new. So now what they are doing, that before imposing the taxes on the people, okay, they have started the system of survey and classification of land. In medieval, you read that Akbar also adopted the same kind of strategy. Do you know that Akbar, what was the kind of strategy Akbar resorted to in the finances? Anyways, you read over there, but just let me explain a little bit. Akbar's finance minister was Raja Todarmal, and he was the one who came up with the very famous that system of the revenue administration, which was known as the Dahisala system. Okay? And under the Dahisala system, the land was divided into 4 categories according to their fertility. Okay? So Polaj, Parti, Banjar, Kachar, Banjar. Okay? So these were the 4 categories. Over here also, that Mysorean rulers, they are going for the survey and classification. So the land is surveyed and then classified according to the fertility. And obviously, when the one area the land is very fertile and the other area land is less fertile, both cannot pay the same taxes. Okay? So the one which is most fertile, it must pay more taxes, and one which is less fertile, it must pay less taxes. So this system, this much is closer to the Mughal, okay? Particularly Akbar's time. And then after, the revenue collection system in the Mysore was very different from the Mughal administration. Mughal administration, Mansabdari, okay? And then the Jagirdars are there. Here what they did, that they employed salaried officials, okay? Salaried officials, and moreover, the salaried officials, they collected the revenue in cash, not in kind. I hope you understand what is kind. Okay, so not in the terms of the share in the crop, but in cash. So suppose that if I am a peasant and I need to pay whatever revenue, okay, whatever I have produced, suppose I have produced wheat in my area, so I cannot share wheat with him. I will sell that wheat and then give him the money, okay, so cash. So this was the system, and moreover, he must have thought that they must have thought that with this system there would be less corruption. There would be less corruption, and there was less corruption because they are getting the salary, okay, and they're collecting the revenue and giving it to the authorities, okay. So less corruption. Corruption cannot be eliminated 100%, but yes, it can be minimized or maximized. So his revenue administration was good. Now you're getting it then. So they are paid salary, they are collecting the revenue, giving it back. Then after many times his policy, the Hyder Ali's policy, is also called as military fiscalism. Okay? Once again, a technical word we have used, military fiscalism. So though the word might seem a bit that new, but the definition is very simple. The definition is that Hyder Ali was of the view that revenue administration is at the core of everything, and when your revenue administration is very strong, so then you can make your military very strong. Okay, so basically that majority part of his revenue was spent on building a very strong army. That's the meaning. Okay, so majority part of his revenue is used for creating a very strong army. That's what we call military fiscalism. Okay, please mention. So you write, the revenue administration of Mysore, was very efficient. It was based on detailed survey. And classification of land. According to its fertility. Okay. The revenue was collected in cash. Through salaried officials. Okay. Full stop. This way he was able to minimize corruption in his revenue department. Full stop. Next point to write. Many a times the Mysorean policy is often referred as military fiscalism. Which means that the majority of the revenue of Mysore was spent in creating a strong army. Okay? Then another thing. So another feature of the Mysore, just listen. So next one, that Mysore rulers, they also emphasized on agricultural manufacturing. What is agricultural manufacturing? Just understand. When you read economics and then you read about the things related to the industry, so you read a term backward and forward linkages to the industry. I'm just entailing little bit then. So what is the backward and forward linkages? Basically that majority of the manufacturing section in the world, okay, they are dependent on the agriculture. The first base is the agriculture and then the things goes to the manufacturing. So can you tell me that which is the largest manufacturing sector in the world? Which one? Yes? No, I'm not asking country. Manufacturing के sectors की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. Agriculture, but agriculture is not a manufacturing. This is the sector that you mentioned. When you said IT, then what else? बताओ बोलो यार, guess करो. Which one? Pharmaceuticals. Somebody said pharmaceuticals. ठीक है. Then steel, automobile. ठीक है. अब line पे आ रहे हो तुम लोग. ठीक है. So now further, what else? Iron mining and then textile. ठीक है. हाँ बताओ. Last one. Which one? Machinery items. I got it. Machinery items you said. ठीक है? So now let me write this. This is the largest sector. FMCG. What is this? Fast moving consumer goods. What comes under this? Yes, we can say everything. Okay? And if I start unpacking your bag, I'll find some biscuits, toffee, chocolates. Then, so yes, processed food and then also packed food, processed and packed food. So FMCG is the largest sector. Okay? And FMCG होता कहाँ से है? This is obviously agriculture is at the base of the FMCG. You're getting it, ठीक है? So आलू की फैक्ट्री जो किसी ने कहा था बनाने के लिए, you know it, ठीक है? So what is at the base? FMCG, ठीक है? So anyways, so let's come to the आलू की फैक्ट्री. So this is the backward linkage to the industry. You're getting it? That FMCG industry हो गया और पीछे की तरफ क्या है? Agriculture, ठीक है? Then somebody said from this side textile. It's a very good example of the backward linkage. That whatever cloths that we are wearing, except the nylons and these are terrylons, majority of the textiles, they are from the that backward part, that is the agriculture, cotton. So textile industry is one part. And actually here they are, Mysorean ruler are going with one textile, and that textile was silk. Okay? As you know that today, Mysore and Kanchipuram, okay? This particular area is known for the sericulture. Okay? In fact, some of the best type of the silks of India are found over here. In North India, it is only the Banarsi silk which is most famous. But otherwise, if you go to the South India, so there are n number of the varieties. So in Karnataka, Mysore silk, then in Tamil Nadu, Kanjivaram, then in Kerala, Kasau silk. So varieties are there. So this sericulture plantation, it all started from the time of the major thrust was given to it at the time of the Hyder Ali. And as you know, I hope you know, that though it grows, it is a particular insect which gives the silk thread, but what is required for that insect? Mulberry trees. Okay? So he planted large number of the mulberry trees in this area. So sericulture was promoted, and not only sericulture was promoted, but also that old irrigation channels were repaired for promote agriculture. Okay? Please mention. So agricultural manufacturing was promoted. Agricultural manufacturing was promoted at this time. For example, there was major thrust to develop, there was major thrust to develop sericulture, to develop sericulture and silk textile industry, sericulture and silk textile industry, textile industry, ठीक है, full stop. Masurian rulers also repaired their old irrigation channels and created new ones also, and one last you write, that is self-explanatory. So number 5 you mention, what was the number of the last one? I think 5 tha, to 6 likho, ठीक है. Next one, they also created many trade missions. They also created many trade missions which were sent to the countries like France, Iran, Afghanistan, Turkey, etc. Afghanistan, Turkey, etc. ठीक है. So this is the salient feature of the Mysore. Now one unique thing, that one new thing we will talk over here in the Mysore episode. So there were total 4 wars between the English and Mysore. But what we are going to do here, that first we will cite all the reasons which developed the acrimony between the British and the that Mysorean rulers, and in the next class we'll talk about the 4 wars. Okay, so today's class we must complete this part of the grounds which led to the fight between these two, okay, that is Mysore ruler and French. So please write the heading, mention that reasons for the outbreak of war between Mysore and English. Mysore and English. Okay. So listen, there are 3-4 reasons. Very first one. So within a short span of time, when you look at the map of the Mysore, just let me do this exercise at the very first place. So when you look at the map of the Mysore, in a very small span of time, okay, what happened, that Mysore territory, it expanded. Okay. So Mysore territory, it expanded from that Krishna river in the north, okay, and Malabar coast in the southwest. So originally, where is the Mysore? First let's locate that. Originally we can say that this Karnataka part, okay, this much part can be said as the Mysore. Then, and where is the Krishna river? In geography you will read that Krishna river starts from the Maharashtra, okay. So Maharashtra, and from Mahabaleshwar range it goes like this way, okay. So Krishna river, so now from here it is extending to this part, this much part, and then Malabar coast in southwest. So this is what we call Malabar coast. Konkan is Goa, and then Malabar coast. So this is the southwest, so Malabar coast, this entire area to the southwest. So now their rule is extending from here to here, it is touching. So while their rule is extending from Krishna river in the north and then Malabar coast in the southwest, so there are many other people here who all are here. So in Malabar area there is a small kingdom over here, Travancore, okay. So Travancore, now Travancore is feeling threatened with the expansion of the Mysore. Then we have Carnatic, and who is sitting at Carnatic at this time? Yes, British are sitting, okay. Then over here Hyderabad, ठीक है, Hyderabad is under the influence of the British, ठीक है, Nizam is there but under the influence of the British, and at the top Maratha, ठीक है. So this expansion of the Mysore within a short span of time brought them in conflict with Travancore, ठीक है, in conflict with Maratha, Hyderabad, and very importantly with the British, ठीक है. So please mention. So within a short span of time, Mysore expanded to Krishna River in north, and Malabar coast in southwest. Malabar coast in southwest, full stop. Then you write in southwest, which brought them in conflict with Travancore, Maratha, Nizam, and British. ठीक है, Maratha, Nizam, and British. Then one more thing you understand, ठीक है, one more reason of this particular fight. See that even in the today's age, ठीक है, which is the very modern age, there are no clear boundaries at the some places between the countries, ठीक है. So let's take our own example. Do we have a clear boundary with the China? We don't have, ठीक है, and that's why that if China tries to unilaterally change the status quo position, so that has resulted into the Galwan clash, ठीक है. So there is no clear boundary. Same is true with the Pakistan side also. We don't have the clear boundary. We have LACs and LOCs, which is not a clear boundary. Then if India, you can say that it is a developing country, ठीक है, that we are a developing country. This example doesn't fit. So then let's take the example of the US itself. Does it have a clear boundary with the Mexico? That highest level of the migration happens with the Mexico. And very recently, I think you must have seen the news that in a truck, 40 people died, ठीक है. What was that? That Mexicans were illegally transferred to the America in a truck, and it was posed as a kind of some commodities going. So the boundary solutions are not easy. So over here also, that's the age of the monarchy, जहाँ पे कोई भी तुम्हारे पास technology नहीं है, you don't have GPS, you don't have any other thing to claim the things. So boundaries are very fluidic, ठीक है. So let's have a look at the boundaries. So these boundaries of Mysore, this area, in any such kingdoms, they are always a buffer zone, ठीक है. They are always a buffer zone. And you know what happens in buffer zone, that the people enjoy very high level of power and authority. The local chiefs, they enjoy so much of freedom, ठीक है, because Marathas will not claim, Mysore will not claim, ठीक है, Hyderabad will not claim, British will not claim, because it is the buffer zone. So in buffer zone, that the local level leaders, they enjoy much freedom. But what happened? Hyder Ali unilaterally tried to change this position, and he subjugated the local leaders of this area, Polygars and Deshmukh, ठीक है. So in Maharashtra side, Deshmukh, and then in this two side, Polygars, ठीक है. So obviously it would be contested by all of them, ठीक है. Mention. So Hyder Ali unilaterally tried to change the status of buffer zone. By subjugating the local leaders by subjugating the local leaders Polygars and Desmukh. Polygars and Desmukh, ठीक है, which brought them in confrontation with others. Which brought them in confrontation with others. ठीक है, which brought them in confrontation with others. ठीक है. Number third and number fourth, you listen. So number third, by this time Tipu Sultan is in power. Hyder Ali has died. So he continued the policy which was the policy of his father. So now what he did, that some wars have already happened, but we are writing the reasons first. So what happened, that in 1785, Tipu Sultan came up with the instruction. He maintained that the entire Malabar coast, which is the spice hub trade of India, okay? So entire Malabar coast from here to here, okay? He has conquered these all. So from here to here, there would be no trade of black pepper and cardamom, okay? So no trade from their ports. The British cannot do the trade of the black pepper and cardamom. And in 1788, he came up with a fresh instruction whereby he mentioned that any of the people who are trading with the Britishers, so there would be repercussions for them. So he forbade the trade with the British entirely in 1788. So obviously British will be becoming angry with this. And the last one, Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan both had the intention, more it is about the Tipu Sultan. So Tipu Sultan has an intention to create a kingdom, a big kingdom in the South India, with the intention to control the politics of entire South India, which will include the Carnatic area, which will include the Travancore, which will include the Nizam's area, and also Maratha. Okay? So when this kind of intention is there, so then that will definitely be creating a threat to the other. And moreover, in this episode you will see when wars are going to happen, so Maratha and Nizam, they are supporting the British. Okay? Why so? Because their existence is also threatened by the Mysore, and that's how they will support British. Please mention. Right, number 3. In 1785, Tipu Sultan prohibited the trade. Tipu Sultan prohibited the trade of black pepper and cardamom, from Malabar coast. In 1788, full stop. In 1788, he prohibited trade with British. And the last one you mentioned, Tipu Sultan wanted to create a big kingdom in South India, with the intention to control Maratha also. Full stop. As such, whenever the wars unfolded between Mysore and British, the local rulers, or the native rulers, the native rulers supported British. native rulers supported British. So this is what is about the reasons for the outbreak of the wars in the Mysore. And when we have class tomorrow or एक ही था आज के चलो anyways no I know that there are too many batches which are going at the same point of time. So anyways, what was the number of the class today? 6th. ठीक है. So 7th, this one 7th anyways we'll be starting the Maratha episode, and 7.5 will be able to complete the entire regional kingdom episode. ठीक है. So we'll continue with this topic in the next class. ठीक है. चलो, thank you.